Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. We are live once again. I am Captain Logan, and look, across the way, it's DJ Martinez. Hello, DJ. No, don't look for him. He's right there.
It is I.
He is you, sir.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I am doing good, man. Yeah, it's been a whole 3.5 hours since I saw you last.
Can't stop streaming here.
Welcome back. We just can't stop. You know, the show must go on. We can't stop the music. Speaking of the music, DJ, you don't know this, but tonight we're listening to some sweet chiptunes, because I have been in a big chiptune kick lately. And I'm going to leave this playlist going this whole show. We're just going to listen to chiptunes while we're hanging out doing the Captain Logan Show tonight. Chiptunes, if you're not familiar with that, with that term, with that expression, is video game music, and specifically, and not necessarily made for a game, but made in the style of video games. Video game music is like its own genre to some degree, and I've been learning a lot about chiptunes over the last couple of years. I listened to the Super Marcato Brothers music podcast. It's one of my favorite podcasts. I only exclusively listen to video game podcasts, DJ, because it's the one thing that I don't do a ton of on the channel, and I like listening to people talk about video games in a way I don't like listening to them talk too much about stuff that I'm constantly talking about. So that's what I do when I'm listening to podcasts, and so I've been cleaning my house listening to the Marcato Brothers music podcast, and I went to play some chiptunes tonight, and I found this 24-hour stream of chiptune music on YouTube, and you can find this too. This is going all the time, apparently. This has been running for 2 straight months. It looks like, or at least a straight month, like a month and a half. And here it is. It's Random Chiptune Radio, the 24/7 music stream. I've been listening to this for the last half an hour, and it's pretty good, and they're picking some good music. If you want to find out what exactly is being played at any given point, there is a link where you can go and look at what's been played for the last couple of hours, apparently. So we're gonna just let this run in the background this evening. If it's overpowering me, and you guys can't hear me and DJ very well, just let me know, and I will readjust settings, because it's hard to tell exactly what things sound like on your end. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna do tonight, and we're just gonna take some questions from you. We're gonna talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. It is a normal Ask Me Anything show, but I don't want it to be too normal. Make it special with your questions. As always, if you want to make sure that your question gets answered on the show, or we talk about some topic that you want us to chat about, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount, and that will guarantee that we talk about whatever you want to chat about. You don't have to do that, of course, but we sure appreciate it. Everybody that kind of tips us and it helps to keep the channel moving along, and helps me do this full time. We, of course, will answer as many regular questions pre-written as humanly possible, so don't feel like you have to do that. We'll do as much as we possibly can. John Ty just put in a crazy super chat, and it's insane to consider that he did that before I even said what the singular super chat goal is for this evening. You're all gonna think I'm making this up based on that, but I'm not. Okay, so before we get to that grand $50 super chat, thanks so much, John Ty. You certainly don't have to do that. That's crazy.
You've outdone yourself, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I can't wait to read that and see how far into the recesses of my brain I have to go.
You guys can still beat him. You can still beat him
if you really want to, but the prize is not amazing, and please do not feel the need to do this. So John Ty is probably going to get this.
He's underselling it, guys. He's downplaying it. But
so
it's pretty.
Usually when we do goals on this show, it's kind of a catch-all. Whatever the take was for super chats for the evening, and we'll try to do some cool thing for everybody. Every other week we make it a second hour. We'll do 1 hour, but if we get to a certain goal, we'll do a second hour. Tonight we're gonna do a goal for the top super chatter. And we already have a $50 super chat. So the top super chatter tonight is whoever leaves a singular super chat in the highest dollar amount that we see for the evening. So not all told, not collectively. So you can't just put in a whole bunch of $2, $1 super chats, and then we'll count all those up. It's just the biggest singular super chatter of the night. That person is going to choose the probably horrible movie that we're going to be doing a blind commentary on for Captain Logan After Dark tonight. So we're gonna do a different kind of After Dark tonight. Usually we do a bunch of different topics. Oh, and Lewis Cox, it's really interesting that you just asked that, because Or not Lewis Cox. No, Dayghost. Dayghost, why would you do that? Dayghost, why would you do that? Dayghost and I are doing a commentary on that movie. I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so, anyway, Austin, you're hilarious.
Why would you give us money, Dayghost?
I don't know. Why would you do that, Austin? I'm about to have you on the channel. Okay, anyway, I digress. So, the top Super Chatter tonight gets to choose the movie that we do from HBO Max. So earlier today, DJ and I did about an hour stream where we did kind of a reaction video, DJ, and we checked out HBO Max. We looked at a bunch of the offerings there, and we kind of did an off-the-cuff review as we were looking at it. And just seeing what was there, and there were some really strange things we discovered, such as even though that just dropped yesterday, there are movies that apparently will not be there 3 days from now. It's crazy. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, so we wrote down some things that most of them that we noticed while we were doing that stream of things that might be amusing to look at on After Dark, and most of them sound horrible, and at least one of them is probably partially. I don't know if it'll be pornographic, I hope not, but it will deal with some kind of, risque things, and I'm sure there will be nudity. Anyway, so this is the list, and I've put it in the in the description of the video. So, the possible movies that we could do this evening, that we will watch, that none of us have ever seen, that we will watch and talk about as we watch. You'll have to have HBO Max in order to watch with us, unless you happen to own any of these wonderful, delightful films. Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down came up.
Super Chatter.
Yes, that's true. You'll have the power. So whoever that's top Super Chatter is gonna get to pick this. No, Anime, I don't hate sexy stuff in films. I don't mind sexiness, but I don't know if I want to watch a movie called Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, and that came up. It's an NC-17 film. We probably really don't want to watch that, but it came up, and we put it on the list. These are all things that came up during that stream, most of them. Space Buddies, one of the Buddies movies. The Disney dog movies, sort of based on Air Bud. I did Super Buddies. We could be forced to watch another one of those. Fantastic Planet was a sci-fi film that looked from the 70s. It looked really interesting. Might be the only thing on this list that isn't bad. Well, except for this horror film, because I've never seen it. Jason X is on this list. We could watch that if somebody really wants us to watch Jason X. The Land Before Time 6. Glee, the 3D concert came up, and so I put that on this list. That sounds horrible. Fly Me to the Moon was that movie about flies that put on spacesuits and go to the moon, and it looks like the worst thing ever, and I don't want to watch it, but I put it on the list. Mighty Ducks 3, and finally, Aquamarine, which is about a mermaid and 2 regular girls that try to help out a mermaid. It looks terrible.
Oh man, yeah. So whoever is the top Super Chatter of the night is going to have quite the power that they can make us. They got quite a variety of things to select there.
Those are the possible options. We decided we should give you a list instead of letting you just pick whatever in case you pick something we really didn't want to do, and then we wrote down like 8 movies that we really don't want to do. Most of them. So, yeah, I'm curious about Fantastic Planet, which is why I put that there, but I'm sure that won't get picked. I'll be real surprised. Anyway, so we should go ahead and get into the questions. If you really want to go over John Ty's Super Chat, you will be able to pick that. That's absolutely nuts, and I did not expect that before we did this. But I had already planned this, so that's what we did.
Fly Me to the Moon, and he says it's abysmal.
Oh, man. Okay. So, well, Noah, I mean, if you really want to, no, don't do that. So, if you get the top spot tonight and you are not a current patron, I will give you the link for the live stream. You don't have to become a patron. Obviously, you can if you want to, but I'll give you that for free, of course. So, let's go ahead and get right into questions. Ask me anything tonight. Let's get right into it. Go ahead, DJ.
All right, I'll start with a pre-written from, I should have read this ahead of time, Cinematographic.
Yeah, what's up?
Also, have either of you seen Bad Boys 3, and if so, what are your thoughts?
I've never seen Bad Boys 1. I've never watched that franchise.
I have not seen any of them.
So I mean, I was a little curious about it because I don't like that pairing looks fun. You know, I like those actors fine, but I've just
it did really well at the beginning of this year too, before the mayhem happened.
I heard good things, yeah. So, but I mean, if I watch that, I'll have to go back and look at the others. So.
From
can I tackle something real quick? I'm sorry. Madman has been asking me this like every show for the last week. I think Madman's asked this every time. He wants to know where my Son of the Mask review is. It is in the hell that YouTube makes for copyright infringement. It's in copyright infringement hell. I can't currently have that up in the way that it is, with the screenshots and stuff, it gets copyright flagged. So I'm gonna have to either make it in the current format or post it audio only when I finally try to get that back up. So that's why I haven't done that yet. So people keep asking me about that. I need to get to that. As I said last show, I've been really weird and on the fence lately about Rewind, because there's all this other stuff that we've been really enjoying doing that people seem to like, and I don't want to stop making a Rewind, but it's super, super time consuming to do it the way that I've been doing it. And so, like, I don't want to go back to audio only, but I'd get them out more often if I did that. So, I mean, I continue to be kind of on the fence. I'm working right now on the, here comes Brandon. I forgot to mention Brandon's coming. Here comes Brandon. He was a little late because he had to eat. So, well, we were busy with other things.
It's all right, I'm late.
But yeah, so I'm working on RoboCop 2 still. I got this written a week ago, and I still haven't gotten the whole video edited yet. So that I'm working on. So that's definitely going to come out as a normal video. But anyway, you reminded me of that when you said Son of the Mask, because I could just post the audio so you could at least hear it. But then I was really happy with that whole package. I kind of hate to lose that. So. Anyway, Brandon, this framing is weird until you finally sit down.
Yes. I have a new cord for the headphones.
Brandon
I'm using opening for the first time.
is here.
There he is. Are you gonna eat on camera, Brandon?
Just cheese sticks. But I've done that before, so I had
that doesn't count.
Okay.
Cheese sticks.
You know, it's funny. There have been times, Brandon, where we're sharing one microphone,
yes.
and sometimes I forget that. And when either of us are talking, there have been times where one of us is doing something else, and I want to mute the mic, but then it would mute the person who is talking as well.
Yeah.
So I can't do that. Yeah. By the way, Brandon, don't be alarmed or perplexed when you hear chiptune music, because we're listening to chiptune music.
Okay.
For the duration of the show this evening, because it's my show and I've decided that's what we're doing.
Hey, well,
all right.
The captain is always right. And
and I'm the captain, precisely. So we've got a few more super chats. I know. Let's maybe knock out a couple pre-written and then get back to those, shall we?
All right.
Or have we done any yet?
Righto. We did the one about something. Thoughts on the Sonic sequel officially being developed from Utale?
I hadn't heard that yet, but I just made the assumption that it would because it performed, yeah. Like I said back when we reviewed it, I don't think that that's anything like unsalvageable, and I know a lot of people liked it and I didn't really care for it. So, I mean, it's possible that we'll get something closer to what I want for a sequel. A lot of people are expecting that. I wonder if retroactively, if that sequel feels kind of... Again, I think the first movie is a little generic and a little bit... what's the matter, Brandon?
It's not plugging in. It's got a two-wire thing on it, so I have to use another one.
All right, buddy.
Weird. That's really weird. Here you go.
Should I just wait for you before I finish answering this question, Brandon?
I should be good now. That's disappointing. I'm going to have to fix that. There we go.
Okay, are you good?
I'm good.
I thought that movie was real standard and a little generic and very formulaic, and I think that there's every potential, like I said, for something that maybe adapts more cool Sonic stuff and does more with the mythology and that kind of thing. I like the actor fine. I like now the design of the character fine, of course. And they made a big deal out of Tails at the end of that, and Robotnik actually looking like himself, and Jim Carrey coming back would be great because he was wonderful. He's of course the best thing about that movie. So like I want to be excited about that, but I think it also could be a Ninja Turtle situation where a lot of people were fine with that first movie, but then when they saw the sequel, oh, that's where you were going with everything. Nowhere. Okay. And so if that happens with this, that will disappoint me, but I also think it's possible that some folks that really like that movie now, because I keep hearing from people, well, Cap, they will definitely make something closer to what you're wanting for the second movie. Okay, but when they don't, I wonder if those people will like it as much as they do right now. That's kind of my question. And again, nothing against anybody that really enjoyed that, but I wonder if some of that is expectation. Wonder if some of that is, well, it's just because I kept hearing that dismissive. It's just a setup movie. Okay. And when the next thing feels just like that, are you gonna still like that first movie as much as you do? That's my question. I'm just wondering about that.
Well, do you think that since they listened to the fans about the design of Sonic, they might listen to the fans about the way the next movie goes?
Well, yeah, but it performed. But it did well. They listened to the fans on the design of the character because it was gonna bomb if they didn't.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, they listened once, could they listen twice?
I mean, they could. I just said that. Like, yeah, they could.
I hope they do.
Yeah. Yeah, I just said there's every possibility that they'll go that way. There's also every possibility they won't. They don't.
Right.
They don't need to get butts in the seats necessarily.
So I'm gonna ask this one. This is
Cap secretly hates people who like the Sonic movie behind the scenes. No, I don't. I was just a little bit perplexed by it. I'm not totally sure what people saw in that movie. I'm glad people enjoyed it. I was not real impressed, and I've seen it one time. You know, now that I know what I'm getting myself into, maybe I'll appreciate it more on a second viewing. I doubt it, but maybe.
This is just a quick one from Blue Dragon 5. Cap, what one single moment in the Joker's 80-year history on the page or the screen do you think is most pivotal in defining the character?
I mean, so much of what makes that character...
one moment.
Right, I get that, and I'm about to go to one moment, sir.
One moment, sir. Nothing else.
Do I have to answer the question like this?
He's vamping.
So so much of what that character is now and has been forever is in that first issue. Like he is so well defined right away and kind of stays that way. Where he's unpredictable, he's a genius, he's really good at doing the last thing you would expect. He's kind of a master manipulator, but he pretends like he's not, and he acts like he's all over the place. I mean, like a lot of what makes even the Dark Knight Joker is there in that first issue from the very beginning. So I mean, I would say that it informs everything moving forward. It really does. I mean. Beyond that, because this is different than most iconic, right? There's like most iconic moments for the Joker that everybody remembers, and then there's the things that are most influential, which is what you're talking about. And I think from 08 to now, the biggest thing is that dog chasing cars speech probably in Dark Knight, or the breaking out of prison and getting thrown in prison on purpose thing, because everything does that now with the Joker and many other characters. But I think after that, that's probably the next biggest thing. I mean, like you could say 89 Joker, but that's iconic before it's super influential, I would say. But yeah, I mean, there's a bazillion things I could point to, but I really think that first issue with him, freaking out everybody on the radio, is kind of the biggest, most important thing.
Sweet. All right.
That's cool to have a
there's
character
a super chat from 123 Rock Fan.
Yeah, yes, Anime. It's when Joker surfed with Batman. That was the most important, iconic, pivotal moment for the Joker. Is that surfing? It surfs up Batman. Yes, this is the most important thing.
123 Rock Fan just gave us $1 super chat. He didn't say anything, so thanks for that, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. There's not an entry fee for the show though, just in case you weren't sure about that.
And then the second super chat is the possible winning super chat of the evening. $50 super chat from John Ty.
Yeah, I don't know why you did that. Thanks, man.
What a great guy. He says, "Isn't the point of making entertainment?" Okay, I'm going to read it straight as it is because it's a little weird. "Isn't the point of making entertainment is to be popular? So wouldn't using algorithms help? Like people say pop music sounds the same, but it's because that's what everyone wants.
Formulas.
And what everyone wants must be right because it's popular."
Okay, so I have massive, fundamental, huge issues with this notion. So let's go ahead and break this down. So the point of entertainment is to be popular if you're the studio that greenlit it and need money. The point of art is self-expression. These are two different things that, as I said on last show, can absolutely work in tandem, but often are fighting each other or at loggerheads. And so, I think it can be, if I may, and again, thanks a bunch for the super chat, so I hate to argue with you, but I think that it can be a little dangerous to think about it in that sense of as long as it's popular, it's right. That whatever makes money is what should be. It's sort of like if everybody starts using an English word incorrectly, that should now be the definition of the word, just because that's popular usage. We have words now where two contradictory definitions show up in the dictionary now because people used it wrong for so long that both the thing it used to mean and its opposite are now true. That's nuts, right? But that's what's happened. That's how we do language now. James Rolfe, AVGN, did a video recently on you know what's BS, that show. He finally brought that back, and I love those. They're a lot of fun. And he did one on bi-monthly, because in the dictionary now, the word bi-monthly now means both things. It now means twice a month and also once every month. And that's insane. And it happens because nobody understood what it meant. So now it means both. I digress, but I use that as an analogy for this. So one thing you have to keep in mind is why sometimes certain things are popular. The people making the entertainment and especially making commercials, commercialism, getting you to buy things, can through their advertising, be it subliminally or not, they can really affect what the culture wants. And so the very people that are selling the things can make you think you want a thing that you wouldn't have wanted otherwise. Am I against advertising on principle? No, absolutely not, of course. But there is a certain amount of manipulation that always happens in advertising, whether it's benevolent or not, whether it's malevolent or not, even. And so I just can't agree with any part of that. Like I said last time, there's a balance that has to be struck. There's, of course, a degree of give the fans what they want, in that if they love a thing that you're going to adapt now, you should probably be somewhat true to the spirit of that, because that's your initial audience. And then maybe you can get some new people in that will also come to love that thing too, that didn't care about it before. But the idea that as long as the idea that you should go with an algorithm, really freaks me out, because that's not self-expression. That's not art. That's not what it's about. You gotta have both. You don't have to have both, but for commercial stuff, if a big studio is gonna make money in order to keep their big studio alive and to make things that do cost a lot of money in order to make, you do obviously have to have both. And even for a smaller artist, starving writer or whatever, he's got to put food on his table, so he's gonna want to make a little money with what he's putting out as well. Keep in mind that we talked about profit motive last show. Obviously, what I do is not 100% apart from profit motive. I do this partially for money and partially to express myself and to make entertainment, because I enjoy doing that, and to have a platform to talk about things that I'm passionate about, that I want to talk about. Would I be appearing as often as I do if there wasn't something beyond that in it for me? If I couldn't if I couldn't pay some bills with it, or at least pay for this and make it look good? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it as much. It would be more of a hobby, I mean, I do it as much as I do because I've been able to make it a job. I wouldn't mention, I don't want to beg for money or anything, but I'm totally transparent about this. I mentioned super chats at the beginning of the show because that's part of where the revenue stream comes from. And if you're not interested in doing that, then don't. We'll answer as many questions as we can. I mean, if we never get super chats, we will still do a show. We just may not do it quite as often. It's a balance that you strike. It's somewhere in the middle.
Good answer.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, fantastic.
DJ, do you or do either of you guys have anything else to add?
No, you
you
actually
covered
covered several things I was thinking about, like especially with the, if you don't make as much money on it, you do it less, but you still want to do it because you enjoy doing what you do.
Algorithms are, let me say this too, algorithms are really useful. They're really helpful in paring things down and giving you the things that you want. The problem with them is they create echo chambers.
Yes.
They put us all in boxes where all we're ever seeing is what we already wanted. And after all, how does a person change and grow if they're constantly consuming the same things? If we're just, a snake eating its tail. If it's just like a centipede. You don't want that. Yeah, I don't know why I thought of that, but you don't want.
It's true.
But it's
YouTube
true. Yeah,
does that so well.
Yeah,
like even Google to an
So
extent.
it can be useful, but that is absolutely one of the kinds of technologies that we are relying too much on and overusing that science fiction warned us about.
So
decades ago.
When I'm surfing the internet or I'm on YouTube or something, I will try to go out of my way to get into other circles of influence that maybe, like, I'll type in something random and see what comes up, and I'll look at that so that I get those mixed in the results too, so I can expand my viewing horizons, if you will.
Sure. But yeah, everybody should be doing that. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is algorithms, if we're not careful with them, turn us all closer to machines.
Oh yeah.
They make us all more robotic. Okay, let's go ahead and move on, shall we?
All right, The Day Ghost, thoughts on Terminator 1?
Okay, so I don't know why Dagos asked this question. He and I are very soon going to be putting out a commentary on Terminator 1. I like that movie a lot. I've always really appreciated that and Terminator 2 together as a, as a pairing, as two totally different kinds of movies set in the same universe that build on each other really wonderfully well. I don't think I would like Terminator 1 as well if it weren't for 2. I also don't know that I ever would have watched it if it weren't for 2, because Judgment Day, like a lot of us kids grew up with when in the early 90s, and which is funny because it was pretty violent and not really for us, but it was somewhat marketed to kind of to kids. I mean, there were video games and things. And that was that movie that you had to see if you were cool, because it was like the big violent edgy thing that you weren't supposed to watch, and so we all watched it. And I was curious about Terminator 1 after that for the longest time. I think a lot of kids when I was when that came out, when I was 8 or 9, saw that at some point but didn't see 1. But anyway, 1 is a wonderfully simple movie. And then it all gets very complicated after that. Because, I mean, yeah, the initial time travel paradox and everything is there, but it's kind of an O. Henry ending in the first one. It's sort of a Twilight Zone kind of thing. Oh, wow, wait, this couldn't happen if it weren't for this person in the future. They couldn't exist if it weren't for them going back, setting someone back in time to make a thing happen. Well, how does that work? So, the whole closed loop thing. So it was a wonderful, like, kind of, brain, freak kind of moment. But anyway, Brandon has still not seen either of those.
I promise that now I'm going to.
Well,
this is what I've been waiting to say.
In fact, what I was going to say is, I've got to do that commentary soon, so I was going to see if you wanted to go ahead and sit down and watch it.
Yeah, I'd love to. Finally going to see it. I'm excited now.
Although now that I'm thinking about it, that's actually tomorrow, so we would have to watch it tonight. So I don't know if we'll have time. But anyway, DJ, go ahead.
I might watch it.
All right.
Today.
I haven't seen either of those movies either, so I have nothing to add. Lewis Cox, thoughts on Batman: The Adventures Continue?
Somebody asked me that a couple weeks ago. I haven't read past the first issue because those are digital, and it's that digital first thing where they're super short. I don't want to read any more of that until we've got more of it. I may even wait until it's traded. So I liked the first few pages fine. I mean, it's not even a complete issue. I don't like the way Digital First works. I thought we stopped making those, but DC is doing that way. I don't love it. You get like 8 or 10 pages at a time, and they're like 2/3 pages or like half pages. So it's just the initial setup for the story. The art is great. The writing is absolutely on par with that show, or like what's the one I'm looking for? It's authentic. Certainly, it's I think Alan Burnett is writing that. or he's at least involved in it. I mean, like it's those guys, and it reads like they never left. So yeah, I mean it's great so far, and there's some interesting setup, but I don't want to talk any more about that until I get more of it, like quite a bit more of it.
TH1 with HBO Max Hindenburging. What should and can the WB/HBO do to retain their audience and not die in a crash of flames? Keep up the good work. You rock.
Okay, so I had not heard anything about how well sales are going for that yet. I wouldn't have thought those numbers were even in, which is why I didn't bother to look. So I just have to take your word for it. LeVar Burton, I'm just gonna have to take your word for it. So if that is the case, the first thing I'm going to say is I told you so. You shouldn't have put HBO in it, because a lot of people are not going to even think to look into what your offerings are, into what the selection is of all the movies and TV shows you have. They're just going to go, well, there's already an HBO thing. Why do I need another one? It might not help that you already had a streaming service that a lot of people have that are getting it for free. Disney got like 100% of its customers are new customers, which is part of why they were able to aim so low for their monthly fee. It's like $4 or $5, and it was like $5 or $6. I think I had to pay like $3.50 because I bought 3 years in bulk when they had that sale, which was awesome. I buy 3 years and then it's like negligible on a monthly basis. It's great, but HBO Max. So many people are already getting that for free. That probably doesn't help. They had to really compromise on how they wanted to handle that. The price point is higher than they wanted it to be because they decided to go through HBO, and I think they felt like they had to do that because that was already, a thing set up, that they had infrastructure. They have a lot of people that are already, like I said, getting it for free because of either cable services that they have. That so if you already have it on cable, most people are getting that for free, but not everybody. It's complicated. And then if you were paying for one of their other streaming services, you also are already getting that. So how many people on top of that weren't paying for HBO are going to buy a thing called HBO something? That's the question I've been asking, but I didn't have the answer to it. I wasn't sure. I thought it might work, and also I think it might still. Word of mouth, the selection's really good. Word of mouth might help it. The problem is Disney got families, and Disney got families and people who don't have children. And this, even though it's got some stuff for kids, a lot of people already have Disney Plus, and I kind of feel the need to buy this for their kids. And so then it's going to be, older people for classics and some younger people for newer shows and some older shows. Is that going to be enough for them? I guess that's the question now.
I still don't think it's HBO as for kids. Like, it just has that connotation,
The only way it works is if people are keeping up with the news and understand that HBO means Warner Brothers now, except for their actual cable network. People
and who's
don't
paying attention to that.
People don't know that. Yeah, well, and people get so confused when anybody brings this up. Whenever somebody says, I heard the news today that AT&T made this decision about so and so superhero thing, and they're like, what does AT&T have to do with anything? Yeah. They merged with Warner Brothers. Nobody got the memo on this. Everybody, and this is all about branding. This is all about brand recognition. And we talked about this on Thursday, and I'm sorry for going over some of the same ground, but in case you missed that show, I mean, this is going to be a different point, but I want to mention this. Disney is... Everybody knows what that is, right? And when you say Warner Brothers, a lot of people don't know what that means anymore. And so, if you say Disney bought Fox, you don't even have to know what Fox is to know that's a big deal. Then you might look into it. You know what Disney is. And most people do know what Fox is. Warner's and AT&T merged. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Time Warner merged with... What the heck is that? That's a cable thing, right? Like, that's all people know. And yeah, Matthew Bass, I agree that HBO Max is too expensive for the average person. I don't think a lot of people are going to feel the need to have that. I think what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to find out movies that are there and are going to go, well, I'd watch that if I had that. But I don't know how necessary it is to have that. Like, it's sort of like video game systems. You need a system seller. with a streaming service. That was The Mandalorian and Star Wars for some people with Disney. It was also The Simpsons for some people with Disney. Not a ton of people, but some. Partly because The Simpsons for a long time was not releasing every one of its seasons on DVDs, so you had to have the streaming service that had it if you wanted to watch all of it. And there are people who are big fans of things that even though, I mean, I had this with Star Trek. Even though I own all of Star Trek, I really like being able to get it on devices, and I watch Star Trek all the time. So whatever your thing is that is your Star Trek, if you have a thing that's like that, where like on an almost daily or at least weekly basis you watched this show, you might pay a monthly fee in order to have access to it on any device that you have. Friends is not enough of a system seller for HBO Max, and they've been trying to treat it like one. And I think that was a boon for Netflix, but I think a lot of people that watched Friends on Netflix already had Netflix. I don't know how many new people they got over to that because of Netflix or because of Friends. I think some people kept it that might not have kept it because of Friends. And then DJ, what was it that we talked about that they spent like through the nose in order to get their hands on?
Big Bang.
Yeah, that's not a system seller.
Yeah.
It might be for some people. I don't think for the majority of people,
No.
Big Bang Theory is a system seller. Not like Star Trek.
Not like Star Trek.
Not like even The Simpsons. I wouldn't think. I know that was really popular. It's also kind of done now.
So, Cap, can I ask you a question about mergers?
Yes.
So
I don't know if I can answer it. I'm not like a...
No. So do you think we have kind of with all the mergers and everything lately, like Sprint just merged with Nextel or with T-Mobile, excuse me. Sprint
Yes.
merged with that.
Yes.
And I got a message on my phone today that said now I have access to the bigger network and I have data while I'm doing a call. But my question is, like, we have new companies start up all the time, but lots of them don't make it. And the few that do rise to the top get bought by the companies that rose to the top before them.
Of course.
So do you think that even though there's like seems to be more and more and more startups all the time, but the majority of them fail, do you think we're getting kind of diminishing return on new business that just stays around a while?
What do you mean by diminishing return?
So we see less and less new business making it.
Well, yeah, of course.
So
it's why a lot of people say the American dream is dead, right? I mean, like...
Yeah, so we're losing ground. It's all coming to like a pyramidal point, right? Like Amazon's just eventually going to own Amazon and Disney. And
Yeah, no, I mean, right now we're talking about the streaming wars. Eventually, we're going to be talking about the business wars, just entirely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't think there's a question there. I mean, I think we all feel that.
Okay, just checking.
I think that's scary for everybody.
The show wasn't totally off base.
That's just not. I mean, I don't want to get political and stuff, but that's just not how the country was supposed to be built initially. Like, it's just kind of sad. And so then there's the question of, you know, did the American experiment fail? It was always an experiment. There was never any certainty that our system of government was going to work out. And there's, you know, a lot of people speculating all the time about whether or not, you know, our country is even going to make it because of things like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You see a lot of science fiction all the time where in the future, American government and business become the same thing. That's RoboCop.
Oh, God.
And we're closer to that. Yeah, and Batman Beyond does that too. Yeah, we're closer and closer to that all the time. Somebody earlier said something really funny that made me laugh, and I wanted to mention it. Who was it? Oh, yeah. I appreciate that comment, Daniel Davis. This conversation is long and illuminating. I really appreciate that second part. Okay, DJ.
I wish you would have stopped right before that.
Let's go someplace else, shall we?
Yeah, this is a super chat from Azim. He spent $10, but he's asking a Daniel Davis question for him.
Oh, crazy! He liked the question
he's
so
done this
much.
once before, yeah.
He put it in as a super chat to make sure it got answered. That is like the nicest thing anybody's ever probably done for that guy. I'm just kidding.
This is a big deal. This is in the news. Thoughts on Henry Cavill potentially returning as Superman? I thought he wasn't given a fair shake last time, and I think reintroducing him in the Shazam sequel would be a good idea.
I think it would too, and I don't think anybody, I repeat, anybody has really turned on Cavill. I think, I don't want to say anybody. I mean, you never know. There might be people that are like, "Oh, those Superman movies suck," and and Cavill's just a bad Superman. I've never heard that. What's really funny is you hear people all the time complain about the Snyder movies and how they're kind of nonsense. They don't make a lot of sense, and particularly with Superman, that they're really cynical. And and with Batman that, he was a murderer and didn't get a lot of great things to do. And what you never hear is the cast is bad. Now, people were worried about Gal Gadot until Wonder Woman, and the majority of us think that she was a decent actress, at least in that movie. But the casting has not really been the problem. Maybe if you don't like that version of Aquaman, the casting there is kind of a problem, but that's just a miscasting, or a adaptation for some people. If you're gonna do Dude Bro Aquaman, I guess he's the best choice, and he's really fun in those movies. But some people just don't like that Aquaman. Anyway, I digress. Cavill, I don't think is the problem for hardly anybody. And if he comes back, I don't think people are gonna not see a movie because of him, especially if you advertise it right. Snyder's name would turn people off, and then. Of course, that's not going to happen, but that would be the worst thing you could do, is the same people are making it. And then I think having him mixed with any of the Justice League right now before we see him again would be a mistake. I think doing it with Shazam is not a bad idea, because people wanted to see Cavill on screen at the end when Superman is apparently standing there, but not played by anybody. And so that makes it kind of a natural way to go and to reintroduce him, and in something that lighthearted. And plus, it's just a really traditional, kind of classic thing to do with Captain Marvel, where you have Superman kind of mentoring him, or them teaming up in some way. So that would be a wonderful way to reintroduce him. And we've done that with some things in TV and stuff, where you'll have a character that, and with Superman even, with the Supergirl show on CW, where you'll have a character who is a major character, and the main one you usually think of, who ends up being a supporting character in a smaller character show, and then later you finally give them their own thing. That's kind of what it'll feel like with Superman, except we started with him, but it wasn't really Superman. And then we get Shazam, and then we give him actual Superman played by the same actor. That would be great, and I hope that happens. I'm ready to move on.
I just want to see a line. Keep that awkward silence going. TH1, will you watch Happy Death Day 1 and 2 before it leaves? If so, will you do a belated how we felt about on 2? Your channel is the best channel on YouTube.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice of you. That's the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me, certainly. DJ, it was not as awkward a silence for the rest of us, because we got groovy tunes that you're not going to hear right now.
Well, it was awkward for me. It was just nothing but dead air.
Was it? I guess I could just send you the link to this stream, and then you could be listening to it along with us. Anyway, so I'm going to do that. You feel free. We got maybe like 20 minutes left of the show. Okay, so I want to watch Happy Death Day 2 at some point. I don't know if I'm going to get around to doing it before it leaves HBO, if that actually happens the next 3 days. And I don't know if I'm going to do a review on it. I mean, I might, but I didn't really have any plans for that. So, I mean, it's good to know somebody cares about that. I guess I could, but I didn't really have any plans to.
Yeah, he left a comment on the video earlier and saying you should watch 1 again before you watch 2.
I saw that, yeah. I just don't know if I'd have time for all that. There's a video I really wanted to get up today that I didn't get around to shooting that I'm probably going to need to do tomorrow or something. Grr. Anyway, so yeah, so I'm a little behind, and I'm trying to get RoboCop, finally edited and stuff. So anyway.
All right, Nicholas Robinson.
Yeah. Hi there.
In-depth Babylon 5 vid in the future.
Yeah, that's supposed to happen. I don't know if I ever announced that, but but I've got plans with a buddy of mine to do an overview, probably season by season. I was watching through it, and I've had to stop for a while, and now it's not on Amazon anymore, and nobody's got that streaming, so I'm gonna have to break down and do this now. But yeah, Lexi and I we're gonna do a series on that with some other folks that I can't talk about yet. But it'll be really cool if we can get it together, and he's been begging me to get that finished so that we can get on that. And it's going to be a commitment and something that I'm going to have to really buckle down and put a lot of time into. And I don't know how much interest there's going to be in it. So it's probably going to be a thing that I'm going to have to do that will supplant some other things that people want me to be doing, and then they'll be upset because this thing that's probably only going to get like a couple hundred views a video is doing. But it's a great show, and it needs to be talked about more. And I mean, it's brilliant. Like, as much as I love Deep Space Nine, it is absolutely superior even to Deep Space Nine on a storytelling level. And everybody who cares one iota about science fiction really should watch that. And if you like JMS, J. Michael Straczynski, but you've never actually watched his baby, you got to, because it's where he lives. It's heart and soul. So, yeah, we really need to get to that. We've had plans for that for 7 or 8 months now, and we just haven't gotten to it yet.
Cool. This is from Man Cove TV. Don't immediately recognize that, but he says, what film genre do you want a superhero to use next?
Real quick, Daniel Davis, yeah, I mean, I want to say DS9 is a masterpiece. I think DS9 is a near masterpiece. I've got some of the same issues with that last season that a lot of folks do. Esri by herself almost makes it hard to call it a masterpiece, in my opinion. But there's some missteps that season, and then first season is real hard to watch. And I mean, Babylon 5 is a little slow out the gate too, but not in the same way. And it just feels like, I mean, I haven't quite finished Babylon 5, so I don't know how I'll feel about its last season, but so far it just feels like so much more of a cohesive, singular vision than DS9. It's so, yeah, anyway, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say if one thing is a masterpiece another thing can't be, but I don't think DS9 gets anything like to the level that is, but it's still wonderful. It's still brilliant in a number of places. Danny Davis says, that's fair. Seasons 2 and 5 are some of the best sci-fi storytelling ever put on to TV for me. The stuff where it gets to the same quality of Babylon 5 is in those seasons, absolutely. And there's some stuff in 6 too. Anyway.
All right. So
superhero genre. So a genre that, because I'm always talking about how, you know, Marvel likes to try to jump to different kinds of genres, and other superhero movies have done this too. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I think it's a cool question. Which genre would you like a superhero movie to tackle?
We've never done a really good superhero western. We did Jonah Hex and it sucked. So it's time to do something like that again and do it really well. We haven't had that yet. I'm not a big western person, but I think that needs to happen. They're really good western. Cool. I mean, we've got, you know, some decent superhero sci-fi now. Space opera stuff. We have myriad good superhero detective things and noir-ish things, neo-noir stuff. We've got good procedural, you know, police type stuff. Of course, that's where we're really, and even some okay fantasy. We could do better with fantasy too. But I think
I definitely want a real fantasy movie.
I think the western is the next place to do a really good superhero movie.
That'd be cool.
I want a musical.
Oh, you're right, Noah. Logan is a great western, but it would be nice to get a good period western.
Right. That makes sense.
But you're right. Logan is the closest thing to the, you know, western superhero masterpiece.
Yeah, everybody was shouting.
That's
Logan,
interesting. I was just thinking all of a sudden that I do think, when I think of superheroes, I usually think of like superheroes are a modern, like they exist in the modern day for me. I never really thought about them in like, because you have them in.
That's just because you don't read comics.
I know, but that's fascinating.
Somebody said musical. Yeah, I've always wanted that too.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I want a superhero musical. That would be my choice.
But Captain Invincible, you'll never get any better than Captain Invincible. I'm just kidding. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, John Ty, another $10 super chat. Cementing his lead. The problem in taking risks for entertainment is you will inevitably. Wait a second. Hold the horses.
Wait, what do you mean cementing his lead?
Didn't he ask that last week?
Oh, I don't know. But just for the record, we're letting the person with the singular highest super chat tonight pick the movie for After Dark.
Well, I know.
Not collective.
I don't know. I was willing to give some people a chance in case they like.
So do you want to change the rules? Is that what you're?
Yeah, I can calculate them up. It's not.
Is that what you're suggesting? I mean, we can do it that way. We just hadn't planned. That wasn't what we were gonna do.
I want to see if that's a.
Okay. I mean, changing the rules could be not fair to the guy at the beginning. It's the only thing I'm worried about.
Well, he did it before he even knew the thing anyway.
Well, that's true too. That's true. Okay. All right. Well, we'll say that then. We'll change it and make it collective. That's fine.
But anyway, John Ty, if art is a reflection of society, doesn't that mean creators who make cynical entertainment is making it because of how society is?
No, I don't think that was exactly asked last week, was it not? Or maybe it was.
No, I skipped the one that I thought was asked last week. I'm going to look back and make sure.
Yes, okay. So say that again.
If art is a reflection of society, doesn't that mean creators who make cynical entertainment are making it because of how society is?
Not necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons that things happen. Sometimes art is a reflection of society, and sometimes we force that. Sometimes. Because again, it's a business, and I know we keep talking about this, and we keep going back and forth on this constantly. This seems like the theme for the Captain Logan show the last 2 weeks. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is you make what you think very often is going to sell, and your perception sometimes of that is inaccurate, and also sometimes your perspective of what is realistic or believable is inaccurate. And so sometimes we make, very often, and I think this is a problem right now, especially for the sake of variety, there's reasons to make cynical entertainment. There really is. Sometimes I'll complain about a thing, this is cynical. Usually when I say that as a complaint, it's because I feel like it either doesn't know it or it's pretending like it's not. It's trying to dupe you into something. It's not. It's kind of a bad actor in it. That's usually what I mean by that. If something has a point and is cynical, like RoboCop, you could, again, is an example of a thing that you could call cynical in its way. It is cynical satire. And I mean, it's hopeful about a singular person by the end, but it's not very hopeful about society. There are certain reasons to exaggerate negativity, to tell us something about ourselves, to reveal a problem, and to make something that is that is trying to kind of warn us about something that a direction we're going that we shouldn't be going. And so, but what I think will often happen is we make things that I would call cynical because we don't really care about what we're saying, and it's not really at all about self-expression, and it's just trying to find that magic bullet. It's just trying to fill in for a formula, and at the other end, dollar signs happen. And you're not thinking at all about the way you're influencing the culture. That's bad. That's a problem. And I don't like that. So I don't know if I actually answered the question.
Some of the game shows that are on today, they're on because they'll get viewers and get dollar profits from advertising.
Yeah, no shame at all.
No shame at all. That's like the biggest example I can think of at the moment.
Yeah. Also a thing that was predicted by decades earlier in science fiction. The Running Man comes to mind.
All right, so he did have another one. He did ask this tonight. I double-checked.
Okay.
He says, this is also John Ty, the problem in taking risks for entertainment is you will inevitably get a Last Jedi situation. People got angry for the risk Rian Johnson took with Star Wars.
Okay, and the problem with not taking any risks is that you end up with Rise of Skywalker. Like, what's your point? Like, both things can yield bad fruit, right? The fact that there are movies that, and of course some people like Last Jedi, but the fact that there are some movies that we look at as like missteps, or they, at the very least really contradict the continuity that came before it, and you just can't even take it seriously now, like I had with Last Jedi, doesn't mean don't take risks. In my opinion, and I feel like I have to say that because I know there's people watching that like Last Jedi, that's fine, but in my opinion, that movie is not bad because it doesn't take risks, it's bad because it's bad. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It is my problem with it, and because it's not following the rules of following somebody else's story, taking the reins, and you can go your own way, but not contradict everything that happened before it. And I know some people go like, DJ, I don't care about continuity. Yeah, but that's the next act of a story, So like, it's not a standalone thing. When it's serialized, especially, what came before matters. Nobody had really, hardly, maybe one character, a complete character arc in that first movie. It keeps going. And then the person that kept going wanted to just make their own thing. First of all, I don't even think that's a great example of somebody took risks and that's why it failed. I've never understood that whole thing, by the way, the whole like subverting expectations thing with Last Jedi, positive or negative. Like, people who say it's terrible because so it subverted expectations, but it wasn't good. I don't even feel like my expectations were subverted that much. As I'm watching, I'm going, wow, I'm surprised we're going this way, and then it ultimately becomes predictable. And then by the end, it feels like we just kind of go back to the regular Star Wars status quo from going all the way back to the beginning. What's so impressive about that? I don't understand. I still don't get that. So I don't think that's a good example. But with the idea of just, pick something that, well, somebody tried something new and it didn't work. So clearly that means we ought to be just doing what has always worked and stay in our lane. No, you got to experiment. You're going to have failures either direction. There's always going to be failures. Not everything's going to be good. The idea that and even if it's like a huge thing that ruins a franchise and it's not good, that doesn't mean make everything the same or always put in for a formula. That's not the right way to look at it. I don't think.
I like that, Mutali.
Mutali says I would subvert our expectations if I just punched Brandon, but there are some people that would not be surprised by that.
I would not be surprised by that at all.
Sorry. Gotta do something else to him. Push him out of his chair.
That has also
767. This is from 767 Scarecrow. Does Cap like the Beach Boys? If so, what are some favorite songs?
I'm not a big Beach Boys fan. It's fine. I'm ambivalent toward the Beach Boys. It's one of my wife's favorite bands. She loves the Beach Boys. So I couldn't even point to, a favorite Beach Boys song or anything. It's fine. Yeah, I don't know.
Thanks for the super chat.
No. I appreciate the super chat. I don't want to start, throwing out the really obvious songs, because I never spent a lot of time listening to the Beach Boys. I like surf music okay, but I like instrumental surf music a lot more than I like things like the Beach Boys. I like stuff like the Ventures more than I like the Beach Boys. But yeah, I don't want to throw out any titles because it's just the obvious stuff everybody's heard of,
Yeah.
I don't have a great Beach Boys, a favorite Beach Boys song.
Here's a saucy question from Burned In. What's the hardest you and Eric have disagreed on or off camera, and how heated did it get?
Well, you saw one of the big ones. Last year, if you watched this video, the Terminator movie that came out this last year, we got not heated. I mean, we've never been at each other's throats about anything. We'll talk loud. That happens. But no, that on camera, that's probably the big one where we were just both on totally, almost opposite sides of the aisle. He liked that movie okay, and I thought it was one of the worst movies of the decade. I think that movie's dreadful, but he enjoyed it, so that's good. I'm glad he had a good time with it. But that's the first thing that comes to mind.
People are suggesting Terminator Dark Fate came up, Endgame, Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, Endgame we disagreed on, Endgame we disagreed on only enjoyment. All of the issues he had with it, for the most part, I agreed with, but just to lesser degrees. He had a lot of, and this happens sometimes with me when I get real heated about something, or didn't care for something, flip my sign red. Well, it's got this problem, this problem, and this problem. And the other person goes, yeah, no, you're right, but it just doesn't kill it for me. Those things didn't bother me that much, or weren't as important to me as they were to you. Yeah, that kind of thing. And that's what we had with Endgame.
Yeah, this next one is from 5590ERS. Have you guys seen Genndy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars?
Yes, and it's great. And I haven't seen it in a long time. I keep meaning to go back and watch that, but it is neat, yeah. And I wish it had stayed canon.
I have not.
You should. It's great.
I have not seen
I've only seen 6 Star Wars movies, and I've only seen them one time. I'm not a huge Star Wars guy.
I know you're not a Star Wars guy.
I need to watch.
I haven't seen the prequels, so it wouldn't really make sense for me to watch the Clone Wars. I'd be lost.
I don't think you'd be that lost. I mean, the prequels already don't make a whole lot of sense, so I could give you a paragraph of what is going on. It's not really that important. What's weird is you do need. I'll say this: you actually kind of needed Tartakovsky's Clone Wars specifically to appreciate Grievous at all. When you get to that third movie, because I was lost looking at that. I was like, what's this Grievous guy? And then you watch Clone Wars, and it's Tartakovsky, and it kind of sets all that up, and then it feels like it's necessary, and then it wasn't even canon. So whatever they did with him with the other Clone Wars show, I guess is what matters now, but I never watched all that much of that, so I don't know. Well, just back in the day when it came out, when I'm watching Tartakovsky, I'm like, oh, this is what Grievous is. I wish I'd watched this first. And I think it came out before that movie did, too. So people walked in, I think people walked in feeling, that watched that, feeling knowledgeable about that character, but I don't know if I'm right about that.
I had no idea who Grievous was
years
when I saw
ago.
that movie, and it confused the hell out of me, and until you just said that, I had no idea who he was. Maybe I'll have to look that up.
That's what I thought. Well, yeah, that's 99% of the audience. But if you saw that show, you would have actually known that, and it was crazy.
I still need to see the last 2 movies too.
You don't, though.
I mean, I don't, but I want to. Just to say.
Yeah. Anyway. Where
really
are we at here? Oh, we're almost at an hour. So, DJ, how many more Super Chats do we have?
4, sir.
Let's go ahead and knock those out real fast, and then we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to watch some probably horrific, horrible movie on After Dark. So look forward to that. Okay, go ahead.
It definitely looks like we do have a winner. TH1, with all the mergers going on, have you ever seen the TV show Continuum? If so, how close are we to that type of government? Keep up the good work.
Man, those shows start to blend together for me, and I can't remember which one is which premise. I think I saw the pilot for that. I can't remember now, so I can't really speak to it. Yeah, sorry, I can't answer that right now. There are a bazillion sci-fi shows that I just never bothered with that I need to probably sit down at some point and finally watch. I need to catch up on The Expanse. I watched the pilot, and I liked it, and then I just never got back to it. There's so much of that, so it's overwhelming, and then you just end up not watching any of it.
John Ty pops in again. If everything happens for a reason, goodness, if everything happens for a reason, Captain Logan, what would be the reason to have this pandemic?
Wow, well that's super heavy. Goodness, can I just cop out and say I don't think everything does happen for a reason? Can I just say that? Can I just say life is actions and consequences, and if there is a greater power orchestrating things, it's pretty clear that there's some free will involved, so the pandemic probably has something to do with human beings making decisions.
That's still the why, right?
Or even, yeah, sure. I mean, but the whole, anytime anybody says if everything happens for a reason, they mean like greater purpose. They mean somebody, like, you know, powers that be decided we needed that to teach us something.
Right, but I still think that you bring that answer to the table is perfectly valid in the face of that's what they're expecting.
Probably not to the person that asked it, though.
It's interesting. How do we have to answer these questions? Do we have to answer with the premise that they give us? Or
that's what I'm
sometimes
saying.
I don't buy into the premise.
That Cat's answer is perfectly valid.
He says
the premise was, but it's not. The premise was if, which means I have to take that at face value of it. Okay, so let's say that everything happens for a reason.
And it's a very vengeful guy.
And then, well, what I would say is, I guess the purpose for that is to, and I don't know that it's succeeding. Before we got to week 7 or 8, I would have said we're too divided as a people. But this is actually seeming to just divide us more. So if that is the case, backfired on the powers that be.
That's amazing.
Absolutely backfired.
Yeah, I like that.
Beyond that, I could see it as a technology thing. I could see it as, and again, this could also backfire on us. We're getting to a place more and more as a society where we don't know how to function socially in person, and we're doing everything, you know, more things remotely, more things through text, more things social media, and people are, very ironically, a lot of us becoming more social and actually talking to each other in a way we weren't when we're not able to go outside because we're all craving that so much. And so when we could all go outside all the time, we weren't doing that. And now we take it for granted. Or we realize that we took it for granted, right? And now it's a grass is always greener thing. Man, if only I could go out and have dates and hang out with people and you know, go to the bar or whatever. And you know, I really miss talking to people. And so people have gotten more social. And maybe some people are even getting along better now because of this whole thing. And so if all things happen for a reason, it could be to teach us what the technology is actually good for, and how much it matters to go outside, and that we need to do those two things together in tandem.
Wow. Did not think we were going to get that good of an answer out of that. Look at that.
Well, thanks, man.
That's the premise for Cap's new book. It'll be in stores next year. Stay tuned. Next question.
Well, I just wanted to try to make this as good as possible so that when we go into After Dark tonight, it's okay if I have nothing amusing to say during whatever horrible movie we end up watching.
Which will almost
this
assuredly be
list.
chosen by John Ty.
This list of terrible movies, Brandon, you just won't even believe it.
Okay, then.
We don't know what we're getting ourselves into. We're going to do a blind watch on something we've never watched, and I made a doozy of a list that DJ helped me with. DJ is somewhat to blame for this list.
Oh yeah, I'm all in Glee 3D is all me. And I can't stop rhyming apparently. John Ty, do you have survival's guilt for having a job in this pandemic?
Goodness, should I? Like, do you think I ought to? No, I don't.
Be guilty about having a job.
I really don't. I mean, I obviously
have a job that's virus proof.
Yeah, there are. Here's the thing, okay? A lot of folks have lost work, and a lot of folks haven't. Let me say this before I actually answer the question. One of the most interesting things about the pandemic for me has been economy. My dad and I have been looking at this a lot because my dad and I are in flea markets, and we're in the junk business, as we call it, right? We do a lot of resale, and we have noticed a phenomenon that we've never seen in either of our lifetimes, which is, it is right now for almost every industry, both a buyer and a seller's market. You've never seen that. The people who are out of work and don't have money are devastated and having a hard time keeping afloat and finding any work because it's hard to get a job in the middle of a pandemic. The people that do have a job have excess money, have more money than they usually would. Now, this is not everybody across the board, but on each side of this, for a lot of people, what I am saying is true. I would say 70-80% of us, this is true. Especially if you don't have to go to work, especially if you're able to work from home, because you can't go out and shop, or at least you haven't been able to. Things are starting to open up again. Now, you may not want to because people might be judgmental about you even leaving your house at this point. That's been a problem. It's a 50-50 split right now with people on whether or not we should even leave our homes at all.
So place with me and my roommate.
Yeah. So and I've heard lots of examples of that, Brandon. So It's really interesting how it's both a buyer's and a seller's market. This is not the same kind of recession that we saw with the last recession, of course. For some people, it doesn't feel like a recession at all. And for other people, it's as bad or worse than the last one. I mean, it's really interesting. So what I was going to say is, and DJ, this is going to be somewhat of a joke.
Thanks for always prepping me.
Yeah,
so I can get ready to laugh.
I might have come out more on top this time, where this didn't really affect me too much, and I was able to do my job, unfettered, and even sometimes a little bit better, because there's more folks at home to watch, so it makes sense to stream more often and to put out more content, that kind of thing. So, like, for my job, this has been not a problem for me, and it's actually been a little bit better, maybe. But that's not me wishing this on, other people that it's been horrible for. I'm just telling it like it is. I'm just giving you the facts for how it's been for me. Down the road, when the ENP drops, then the people that go to work and can do their work without power are going to be the people that are in the place that I'm in right now. There's a trade-off for everything. This very easily could have been some other sort of catastrophe that would go completely the other way. All of the internet somehow goes down and is never able to come up again. Well, then I'm out of a job. You see what I'm saying? Like, anything can happen, you guys. Like, so no, I don't have guilt about it. I feel horrible for people that haven't been able to get through this, and I'm happy to help people I know and my friends as much as I can in getting through that, doing my small part for people that I can help out.
All right, so real quick, TH1 popped in a super chat, just letting you know that the show he mentioned is a Canadian show that takes place in Vancouver.
What show are we talking about?
The Continuum that he brought up?
Oh, yeah, okay. No, I still think I saw an episode of that maybe, but I'm not sure. Yeah, thanks, Tom. But okay. I'll try to look at it at some point. Remind me at some point, I'll do that. Yeah.
From Connor Nielsen, he says, are there any writers/artists you'd like to see have the reins over their own Elseworlds DC continuity, like The New Frontier or Superman Red Son?
Wow. I mean, I guess I'd say anybody that did an Elseworlds type thing that I really liked that made any sense to keep going with, I want them to be the ones that did it. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, of course, this isn't exactly a what if it were an Elseworlds kind of thing, but I'd love to see Peter David continue doing 2099. He did a run, I guess a 2-volume run, and I didn't love the second part of that. So I'd love to go back to that at some point and just, stay in the future and not come to the present at all. Man, it's funny because Peter David's just stuck in my mind now. This isn't even a comic thing. One of the big things I always wanted, again, this is a comic book. This isn't really answering your question, but I want to mention this. He did New Frontier in Star Trek, which was a series of novels that what I've read of are great. I've never read all of that, but a lot of people in the 90s wanted him to get a TV show and make that the new Trek show, and I think it should have been, and it sucks that he never got to do something like that. So that's a big thing, but not comic book. Trying to think of another kind of Elseworldsy kind of thing. A lot of that stuff is just really good, kind of one and done. I mean, you mentioned New Frontier, and that's one of the things I probably would have gone to, honestly. Gotham by Gaslight, maybe. I forget who wrote that, but the artist was Hellboy. Name's not coming to me for some reason, because I wasn't in comic mode until just now. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. Nothing else is really coming to mind.
All right, we have one more super chat from Mr. Roboto.
Okay, cool. Let's knock it out.
Brandon.
Brandon.
We're about to wrap up, Brandon, so I know you could talk about this
Thank you, Mike
for the next hour. But Brandon, do you still think Doc Brown could not retrofit a steam train for time travel?
So
good one.
This is so the steam. I don't know, the steam train. It just seems that he's not going to get. He's still going to need some sort of power source that is going to work at any point in time, and I just think that even with a coal-fired thing, he still wouldn't want that for certain time periods, because in the far future, coal is going to be gone. It's a finite resource, and in way in the past, it wasn't there yet because it's dinosaur bones and things like that.
So wait, your problem with it is just that it's not sustainable, not that it wouldn't be possible to build?
I think that he probably could end up building
that
it. That
always seemed really absurd to me, honestly. Like, that seemed a little bit too cartoony and going too far.
I think that flying it was the problem.
He needed plutonium in 85, but he doesn't need it in 1885, and somehow in that short amount of time, like, we don't know
what it runs off of, though. It could have a Mr. Fusion type thing.
We do know what it runs off of. He says steam.
Well, no, yes.
He just says it runs on steam.
Yes, but that's because the DeLorean ran on gas and it couldn't move fast enough. That's what he's talking about in that moment. He's talking about he doesn't want to be in a time frame where there's no gasoline. So you're saying he just
needs something that can get him up to 88?
Yes. He just needs something that can get him to 88 miles per hour. But you still needed
plutonium. How's he getting that?
I'm saying it might have a Mr. Fusion type device that he built for the steam train.
I got you.
That's going to power
the flux
itself capacitor.
So really, the question ultimately becomes: do you
power
buy
source to get to 88 miles per hour?
What I was going to say is, then the bigger question actually is just you buy Mr. Fusion in the first place.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, like, actually, at that point, the Back to the Future 3 thing with the steam train is actually maybe less hokey even than Mr. Fusion. You kind of have to decide if you buy that whole thing.
Well, to a point, because
would you even have the stuff that is in the trash in 1885 to make Mr. Fusion work?
Oh,
that's
it's
a
just
question.
Trash because he even uses banana peels. If you remember.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
He puts the beer in there in the can and the banana peels. He puts it. It's just fusion, and cold fusion is an idea that's existed for a while. You want to be able to produce fusion at room temperature.
And it's not at all what they say it is in Star Trek Into Darkness. Okay, that's not cold fusion.
Right. So that's the idea behind the Mr. Fusion is cold fusion.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'd need this huge toroidal electromagnetic device that would, stream your plasma around in the donut.
No, I forgot about that. Okay, well then I guess that makes sense. The whole steam thing's not too weird because they got the train to 88.
Right.
So surely,
well, he built his
so I would
locomotive
buy
to go 88.
So
sure.
I would buy that Doc Brown could build, especially if it flew, a flying DeLorean that can go 88. And I also like the idea that it has to fly to get that fast. That makes sense.
Well, he just probably didn't want to put it on the track that fast. But if he can fly, he doesn't need a track. So why does it have to be a steam train? It could just be anything powered by steam that flies at that point.
Well, I think he just made it but he even says, like...
it's not going to blend in the
cool?
past.
No, but I think he does that just because it's cool.
Yeah, I think so too. But if he doesn't need a track...
That's more of a thematic thing, right? Where it's just, well, we just saw a train, and it's neat or if at the end of it it's a train. They just want some big, cool, iconic thing at the end.
The other thing, I didn't think about this. He chose the DeLorean specifically because of its stainless steel construction, as he says in the first movie.
Yeah, right.
And it disperses the flux more evenly. Well, that steam train's not made out of stainless. It's made out of, like, iron. Like, straight up iron. Not even, like, steel at this point.
That's a good point.
So, or it might be steel, depending on, right around the turn of the century. It could be... I guess it would have... No, I guess it would... I think it would have to be steel, but it's not stainless. It wasn't invented yet, first of all. It's not going to disperse the flux evenly. I'm just not buying it.
That's okay. Well, that's a good point. That makes sense. Anyway, guys, we're going to have to go ahead and close out now. We are going to come
another
back...
super chat from Mr. Roboto.
Oh, goodness. Okay, go ahead.
Do you think collecting comics for trade is foolish at this point in time?
What do you mean collecting comics for trade? If you mean people who buy comics when they come out and then double dip and buy trades again, yeah, I've never quite understood that. Some people just prefer to read and trade, but they collect because they just like collecting, or they think certain books will be worth something, so they're just hanging on to them. I've known people who've done that in the past.
He clarifies. He says as in for money, so... When he means for trade, he means
to trade with
sell.
other people. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
That's confusing because trade is.
No, I don't think that's foolish. If you know people who also collect comics and you can trade books back and forth, there are definitely a lot of people that do that, and there's easier ways to swap these days. I mean, Facebook Marketplace, people do swaps with video games and other things all the time. So I don't know why that would be any more foolish now than it was at one time. I think it's easier, maybe even to trade books now with people, because there's so much that comes out that a lot of people buy different things. So that is, I've never even thought to do that. That's actually a market that makes sense to trade into me, if there's anybody doing it. I don't know that there are very, very many, but that's my answer to that, if I got the question right.
And then we got another super chat from John Ty. What are the positive things you are doing in this pandemic to keep you sane?
Well, I don't think I'm on any verge of being more insane than I ever was. Any sanity issues were there pre the pandemic and will be there post the pandemic, I'm sure. But I've said this before, but I was already working from home. I'm leaving the house a lot less now, but I'm finding weirdly I'm kind of thriving in that. I'm really not minding that in a way in the way that I thought I would. And it's been kind of nice because I've been saving money and I've been spending more time with my kids, and so I don't know. I think just family time, really, just taking advantage of the things that are nice about having to be home, have helped me a lot. And I think the main thing, if there would be any question of my sanity in the pandemic, is that I'm in a larger, nicer, better house than I was in last year. So if this had happened in my old place before we got lucky enough to be able to buy this place, the pandemic would have been much harder. So we're just very happy here, and so I just got kind of lucky with that. What kinds of things are you guys doing to stay sane?
To stay sane, I am going to parks here and there and hanging out, getting some sunshine. I got a terrible sunburn on Monday, though. I was sitting on my front stoop, on my front stairs, just watching traffic go down the street. I live on a very busy thoroughfare. It's an emergency route and a snow route running right through the main part of the middle of the city I live in. So, just kind of staying near the house, kind of, but outside, doing work around the house. Finally.
Yeah.
And DJ, you're not in too different of a boat from me, really.
Yeah, I'm not, but my wife is an outdoor or like a people person, so this is really hard on her. So she's kind of going crazy being locked up. So we're trying to get out. We go on walks with my son through the neighborhood, and we try to get out and go to like he said, national parks and do some hiking. And then I talk to Cap and we shoot videos and I talk to people on the internet I just talk to people this way because I can't meet with anyone. So, yeah.
I've had a couple of social media calls with friends, like Alex in Spain. He's been part of them. So,
yeah, I think a lot of people who never bothered with that before have been doing that, which is why, once again, Zoom is the company that is most making out after the pandemic. Somebody said I must be going crazy because I'm wearing a Joker suit. I was
going to say that.
I didn't do that on purpose, but I guess it is a kind of Joker.
The man who's wearing Joker.
Solar Dragon said that. Yeah, it's really funny. And then there's one more thing Scarecrow I asked if I move very far from the old house. No, 10 minutes. 10 minutes away. I was in Overland Park, and I'm now back in Lenexa, which both are suburbs of Kansas City. They're all in the Kansas City area. Anyway, guys, we really have got to get going now. We're going to be back here so we'll be starting later than we were going to. Usually start around 8:30. It's going to be more like 8:35 to 8:40. I will put up the link on Patreon very, very shortly for where that live show will be, so you can pop in there. And so in about 10 minutes or so, we'll try to start that show, and we're going to be watching some terrible movie on HBO Max. And DJ, who gets to choose it?
The winner by a long shot is not a long shot. That's not what I meant to say. John Ty, you're the winner.
By a long shot. We didn't think it was possible, even though he opened with a $50 volley. So thanks a bunch to you, John Ty. Man, you didn't have to do that. We sure appreciate you. And thanks for giving me lots of interesting things to think about and talk about. Okay, so we're going to wait for a second from John Ty and see which things on my horrible list he brings up. And if he doesn't say something pretty quickly, we'll go ahead and just adjourn and then try to hear from him in social media. I'll ask him to send me a message someplace. So we'll hold out for just a second. He won by a dead shot, says Carl Maxey. John Ty wants us to do that tie me up, tie me down movie. DJ.
Oh, is that what he said?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's. I'm a little worried that's not going to be fun. Connor actually said that's a really good movie.
Oh, he said it was good? Maybe we don't want to do that.
It's got like a 69% of Rotten Tomatoes or something, so that might not be as fun.
Should we ask him to throw something else out now that we know that, or should we just do it? Should we just honor it?
Well, we can ask him. I mean, it's not going to be as cringy as we thought, John Ty, probably. It's probably just going to be like a serious romance movie, so if you're still into that, we'll definitely do it. But
okay, no, now he says Jason X, so we have to watch a horror film.
Oh, goodness. Let's go back to the other one. I hate horror films.
Sorry, DJ, but, I just wanted variety on that list, so... All right, well... If you want to hang out with us, watch Jason X. And some people say that Jason X is good, but for horror people, I'm sure it'll still be fun to do. Those kinds of movies, there's always stuff to make fun of. So we will go check that out, I guess. That's what we're going to do. And DJ can wear a blindfold so that he doesn't have to actually watch it. Anyway, everyone, once again, thanks a lot for watching. We will be back again in about 10 minutes. I am on Patreon, so if you're not a patron and you want to watch that movie with us or just listen to us talk about it while we watch it, because we know people do that, patreon.com/geekvolution, just the $2 tier, get you access to that, and you will get a link in your email very shortly. Anyway, thanks for being here, gentlemen. I hope you had a good time. I certainly did. Yeah. We'll be right back. After this break.
After these messages.
I'm Captain Logan. This was Brandon of the Grims.
Sorry I was here late.
That's okay, man. No problem. Eat your cheese sticks. And DJ Martinez.
Hey, we'll see you in a minute, guys.
Bye.